Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, we are holding brand new Mishnah. So if you just started Zevachim today, it's a brand new sugya. Says the Mishnah all the way on the bottom of the Samach Tes Amud Aleph. Again, those who are very worried that we're behind, and we're Amud behind, but if you take a look at Daf Ayin Aleph, you'll understand why we're over here. And then you can take a look at Ayin Beis, and probably even Ayin Gimel. Says the Mishnah, Molak v'nimtzas treifa. Shchita, we just established, removes the tumah. But what about Malika? What if you take a bird, and with your nail, you go through the back of its neck, you do Malika, and you find out, I don't know how you found out, you're not supposed to be checking, but you found a nice hole in its heart. Is this bird tamei or not? Malika removes the tumah from a bird, so even if you ate, if the kohen ate a chatos, bird, and it's a treifa, does it become tamei or not? So we have a three-way machlokes. Let me show you the machlokes on a chart, and then you can see it inside. Maybe it'll make it easier. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it is tamei. It's not like an animal where the shechita removes the tumah. There is tumah. According to Rabbi Meir, there is no tumah. It's like a behema, it removes the tumah. And then according to Rabbi Yossi, it's in between. If you do shechita, there's no tumah, so it's green, it's kosher, it's not tumah. But if you do malika, yes. So that's when it comes to a bird. So we're talking about malika now. Malak v'nimtzas treifa. You did malika to a bird and you found out it's treifa. Malika equals shchita. Shchita by an animal. And by shchita by an animal, we know that it removes the tumah. So too, if you do malika by a bird, and then you find out that it's a treifa, you can't eat it, you can't do anything with it, nevertheless, there's no tumah. Daf Samach Tes Amud Beis. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Okay, so again, you take a bird in the Beis Hamikdash, you do malika, which is mutter in the Beis Hamikdash. Outside the Beis Hamikdash, it doesn't do anything; it causes an avela, and you find that it's a treifa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mitame, there is tumah. Or Rav Meir, and Rav Meir explains this sheet. The kavachomer, very simple kavachomer. Im nivlas behema shemitame b'magom masa. A behema has a tremendous amount of tumah if it gets hit by a car, if it dies as is. If you just touch it, you become tamei. Whereas a bird, if you touch it, you do not become tamei. The only time you become tamei by a bird is if you swallow it. So who has more tumah? A behema. If you pull it, you pull the behema, the roadkill, you pull it off to the side of the road, tamei. Nevertheless, the shchita has power to remove the tumah from it. You shecht, no, not after it's dead. While it's alive, you give it a shecht, you open it up like they do today in the shlachtoys, in the slaughterhouse. They open it up, they take a look and they see a heart that has a giant hole in it. So you can't eat it, there's nothing you can do with it, it's treif. You can't eat it. Yet there's no tumah. If that same animal got hit by a car, it would be matama. But this animal, even though you can't eat it, it's similar to nevela. It's a treifa. It says in the same pasuk, nevelu treifa. But there's no tumah. You touch it, you don't become tamei. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, so therefore nivlat sa'oif. So certainly, and now we're not talking about malika rabbi, so we're talking about shchita. If you take nivlat sa'oif she'enim tamei magov, the tumah of a bird is at a much lesser degree, because even if you touch the bird, you don't become tamei. Only if you swallow the bird, you become tamei. And we did step one. It's a two-step process. First, we're learning shchita from shchita. We're going to learn the shchita of a bird. That the shchita, when you shecht a chicken, the tumah disappears. The tumah flies away. Even if you find out that it's a treifa, you cannot sell this bird, you can't eat the bird, you'll give it to the Arabs, you'll throw it away, whatever you do to it, but it's not a tamei. How do I know that? From a behema, because behema has much more tumah, and the shechita removes the tumah, so certainly by a bird. Now what does that have to do with our Mishnah? So once we establish that shechita removes the tumah, now I could figure out that malika also removes the tumah. It's one more step. It's a problematic step. Why is it problematic? Because the concept of dayoi. I learned from logic, shchita. How am I taking it to the next step? I'm stepping it up to another thing. That's dayai. So says the Mishnah, mamatzinu. It's called a mamatzinu now. We did a kavachomer, and now we're doing a mamatzinu. The kavachomer establishes that a bird does not have tumah after you shecht it. And now, once I know that, so just like I saw that the shechita removes the tumah from a bird, so too malika should also work. Says Rabbi Yossi, okay, I like the first kavachomer. That's great. The kavachomer you made, that just like an animal, the shechita works. Certainly, it should work by a bird. But I can't take it to the next step. So Mela, Rabbi Yossi is stuck in the middle over here. He says that shechita works to remove the tumah from a bird, but not malika. I have a nice kavachomer for shechita. I don't have any. I can't take it to the next step. The next step is called dayai. Enough. That's it. I must stop there. I can't go further. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. How can Rameir take it to the next step? The kavachomer is great. Isn't Rabbi Yossi right that you can't go any further? A kavachomer is logic, but you can't take the logic and go to another logic with it. You can't do a mamatziru afterwards. This is not a concept in the Gemara. This is a concept in the Torah. The famous pasuk, the Sanyom, Medin kavachomer keitzad. How does kavachomer work? It says in the Torah, how long do you put Miriam outside the machna? 7 days. Why? Because typically speaking, if a father spat at his daughter, so she would be humiliated for 7 days. That was the word I was looking for. I found it in the article, Baruch Hashem. Everybody said embarrassed, this, that. It's a great word. Humiliated. She would be humiliated for 7 days. So you got to put her in mechutz machna for 7 days. That's if the father spit at her. But at the end of the day, we have a kavachomer. If her father humiliated her, she would be put away. She would stay away for 7 days. So certainly, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu humiliated her, it should be 14 days. That should be. But the Torah says no kavachomer. You could only go as far as what you're learning from. You're learning from the Rebbeinu Shalom, from the father, it's 7 days. That's it. You can't take that to the next step. You can't say, oh, if the father is 7, so certainly we're learning from the father. It should be laba, but in yeshiva we always say it makes no sense almost, but that's how we say it. There's a nice Taisus. Why episode 14? We're going to 14. So Taisus says a very nice cheshbon. He says that in Nida it says the shleisha shutzim ba'adam, famous Gemara, that every human being has 3 partners. The father gives 5, the mother gives 5, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives 10. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doubled in the father. If you look at the father versus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yeah, the father's great, he gives 5, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives 10. So Mela says, if you get humiliated from a father in 7 days, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be 14 days. But we have daya, it stops us at the 7. And then he says, because each hezger is 7 days, you can't do 10 days. It's 7, and if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is more, so you do another set, and every set is 7. Givaldik. So the question is, how could Rameir learn this kavachomer and stop over there and keep on going with the kavachomer? There's a concept called dayo. You can't do more than the actual kavachomer tells you, and that is, okay, fine, a bird, you can do shechita, but how do I know that a bird, the malika, removes the tumah? Omer Rabbi Meir Kroash Kach V'Kodarash. It's not a kavachomer, it says the Gemara. It's a pasuk. When the pasuk says 2 words together, a behema vayif, what is that called? Ariel. What is it called? Hekish. It's called a hekish. So what does hekish teach us? That an animal is like a bird. The Gemara says, wait a minute, there's no connection. There's no connection between there's no comparison between an animal and a bird. Why? We just said an animal, you touch it, has tremendous tumah. A bird, if you touch it, you're not mitam. What about a non-kosher bird? Dead on the street, roadkill. You touch it. Tomei or not tomei? No. But a bird, you become tamei for swallowing. So mechudesh halacha that an animal doesn't have. Behema, and an animal, if your friend takes up pliers, opens up your mouth, sticks in a piece of McDonald's with a nevela into the back of your mouth, tamei or not tamei? Not tamei. Even if you swallow it, there's no tumah beis habliya. The tumah of a nevela, if you touch it. If that same hamburger you touch, you become tamei. But if it's in the back of your throat, you're not tamei. Only a bird. So what's the connection? Why is there a hekesh? To teach you, by behema, when you shecht it with a knife, it allows you to eat it. That same shechita makes the tumah go away. So too by a bird. What's machshir to eat it in the Beis Hamikdash? Melika. So that same Melika, Matar Tribazim Tumasi. Says Reb Meir, I learned it from a pasuk, not a kavachomer, not a man mitzinu after a kavachomer. I have a pasuk that teaches me a simple idea. That whatever creates a hechsher to eat, it removes the tumah. So Melika allows you to eat, it removes the tumah. Reb Yehuda, my time is how could Reb Yehuda argue in that? She has another pasuk that he dashes from. It says in the pasuk nevela utrefa. So a lot of today's Gemara is based on this pasuk right over here. Nevela utrefa. It says in the pasuk the two words together. Here's the pasuk nevela utrefa. So the Gemara says very, very simple. We'll say about peh. What does the word trefa do for us? It means nothing to us. Because the only way trefa could have any effect is if it dies. And if it dies, it's a nevela. Elamai, while it's alive, it has something special. But still, you have to wait for it to die. So it says the Gemara, nevelo treifa. So that extra word, treifa, he's going to use that extra word. And the Gemara, you have to hold cup over here. The Gemara goes back and forth, but the word is not extra. It is extra, but it's not extra. It's not 5 times. That the word, but finally, he learns from somewhere else. Omer Yehuda, treifa laman emra. Why does this pasuk say nevela and a treifa? The word treifa doesn't give me anything. In treifa chayo, there's a famous machlokes whether or not an animal that has a hole in its heart, let's say, it's a real treifa, can it survive? Could this animal with this hole, could it live more than 12 months? If treifa chayo, if it does live, but harei nevela amura, you still have to wait until it dies. You're gonna have to wait. So then it died. So then it's an nevela. Forget the treifa. In treifa yinachayo harei b'chol nevela. And again, and if it doesn't live, so right now it's an nevela. Ella lahavi treifa sheshachta shemitama. And another confusing thing in the sugya is that we jump back and forth from bird to an animal, bird to an animal. You have to know what we're talking about. Right now we're talking about a bird. Ella lahavi treifa, a bird that has a hole in its heart. Sheshachta shemitama. That the word treifa, says Rabbi Yehuda. This extra word treifa, why didn't the word treifa? Doesn't do anything for me. I'm going to take that extra word treifa and teach me that a bird that you shechted and you found a hole in its heart, it is mitame. I just want to show you this Rashi, because Rashi says an incredible thing. It's kedai to know. What does it mean that this tumah in the treifa? Says Rashi that if you pluck a piece of its meat out, Aver menachai would only be if it's a full aver. It has gidim, has bones, the whole thing, like a whole limb. But what if you take a little tiny piece of the pulka off? A little piece of schnitzel from this bird. So if it's a treifa, it's metama when it's alive. That's the beauty of treifa. A nevela only gives tumah when it's dead. A treifa could give you tumah when it's alive, when you're eating a piece of a live chicken. Still tell me, that's the only way it could happen. According to your chiddush, that what? The word treifa is extra. I mean, the word treifa is extra. I have to learn something from it. Nevela, v'chelev treifa. So this is the pasuk Rabbi that tells us that the fat of an animal, of a behema, there's no tumah from that fat. B'chelev nevela v'chelev treifa. Whereas by a chaya, we're going to see at the end of the sugya there is tumah on the fat of a treifa chaya. So if you shecht a deer, venison, you shecht it, and you find out that it has a hole in its heart, that same chaylev that should have been allowed to eat, you could eat all its chaylev, it's mitama. Chiddush. That's another big chiddush here. Hosam nami, So in this pasuk, treifa, asks the same question. It's another pasuk that says another word treifa, and it's another extra word. In treifa chaya re nevela amura, the word treifa is extra over here because if you hold that a treifa can live, then you have to wait until it dies. In treifa hena chaya, and if you hold that a treifa is going to die anyway, so you consider it right now dead. So right now it's an nevela. Why do you have to call it a treifa? What do you gain by that extra word? It's coming to teach us that if you find out it's a treifa after you shechted it, it's fats that you can't eat anyway are tar. It's mashma that only the fats are tar, but the rest of its body is tameh. Now, if you just think for a second, because before I even started the Mishnah, I told the Olam that what? That nobody's going to argue on this point. That what? That if you shecht an animal and you find that it's tameh, everybody's going to agree that there's no treifa. Thank you. If you find that it's a treifa, everybody's going to agree that it's not tameh. We have a diuk here that it is tameh. Miklal di hitmeya, that only the chaylev is tar, but the rest of the meat is tameh. V'amar Rav Yudam Rav, it's impossible. Rav Yudah said in the name of Rav. Ariel says, we learned in the Brayso, v'chiyavas min behema. It says if an animal dies from the animals, mashma mixes behema mitama. Some animals give off tuma, mixes behema ena mitama. It says before in the pasuk, some don't give tuma. What does that mean? If there's a treifa and you shecht it, it doesn't give off tuma. So you see from the pasuk that once you shecht the animal, there's no tuma. Elo treifim m'bailei. So what do I need the word treif for? M'bailei lemute tmeya. That the chaylev of a non-kosher animal, mishiesh b'mino treifa. Only a type of animal that there's a treifa and not a treifa, but a type of animal which, like a lion, there's no nafkamina between. Oh, Yoshi did something cute here. Check this out. This is a treifa animal. These are all types of animals that have treifas. All right, so camel. Camel's a treifa animal, but it's a tummy animal. Sorry, there's no treifa in it. Mishiyesh b'mina treifa, yotzu shem b'mina treifa. Achanami l'muti yoiv tamei. So in the pasuk of a bird, we should say the same thing. So now we're at a point that since you need the word treifa to say that to be memay tamei, so now you don't have an extra word treifa, according to Rabbi Yehuda. How did Rabbi Yehuda learn? Rabbi Yehuda learned his halacha from the extra word treifa, but now he doesn't have extra word. So again, what did he learn? He learned that if you put in your base abliya, you put the bird in the base abliya, you tar, right? Mishnah. Rabbi Meir says, top of this, the first words in this thing, as you know from the word treifa. That's where we're holding. So Meili doesn't have extra word. If Tamei review that, you know how he learns If Tamei? Minevela nafkale. Not from the word treifa, from the word nevela. The sign review the Omer Yochate Nivla Soif Tamei Mitam B'Gadam. I would think, and everybody here in the room said, that if you touch a dead crow, you don't become Tamei. I would think you do become Tamei. A dead bird, why is it aser? Why is it aser to eat? Because it's dead? Because it's an avela? No, it doesn't eat because it's a non-kosher bird. The Torah says you're not allowed to eat a non-kosher bird. Because the Torah says you're not allowed to eat a tummy bird because it's an avela. So avela, the word, since he learns that from the word avela, so the word treifa is extra. And if it's extra, he learns the top line over here that it's matama b'beis habliya. Says the Gemara, Nami typically, the chaylev of behema tmeya is mitama. I can learn from somewhere else. Hanami typically chaylev nevela. Mishi sur mishum bal toicha chaylev nevela. Yotzu she'eni sur mishum bal toicha nevela el mishum tamei. So again, I have the word treifa is extra over here. Why? Because this idea that a chaylev of a non-kosher animal is tamei, I can learn from the chaylev nevela. There has to be something that is tamei because of the Isser of Nevela. And this animal that's a tummy animal, like a camel is a tummy animal, it's not also because of it's a Nevela, it's also because it's a camel. El Hai Treifa Mebayli, so what do you do with the Treifa? Mebayli Asuye Chaya. Oh, that the what? I would think that the Chaya, that's a treifa. You found out it's a treifa. It's chaylev. The fats are not metama. That's a regular cow. That the meat is of a cow we know is mutter teeth. The fats of a cow we know is also teeth. That's the type of animal we're talking about. Yotzazu, but a deer shechelbo b'sara mutter. It's not just a deer. It's also buffalo and all these animals we saw in the safari. They're also kosher animals. So that means shechelbo also b'sara mutter. Yotzazu shechelbo b'sara mutter. I would think that the chaylev is mutter, like not tamei. Kamashmal is tamei. So here we have a chiddush Rabbi Zai. Again, what's the chiddush? The fat of a deer, although it's mutter to eat, if you find out that it's a treifa and you can't eat it, it's mitama. Whereas by a cow, it's the exact opposite. Chaylev is always aser to eat, but if you shech and you find it's a treifa, it's not mitama. Maishna tmeya. Why is an animal that's tummy like a camel? The meat, the fat, they're all the same. They're both aser. Chayinami, so too when it comes to a dead deer, a deer, its chaylev is mutter, its meat is mutter. Which the Gemara is going to be dayik, that's mashma only you're not allowed to eat, but the chaylev is actually metama. It is metama. Elamar Abaya, shreifa legufei yitzrich. I need the word treifa for something else, not for what you just told me. I need treifa to say that if I find fat of a treifa that wasn't shechted, it's aser. Treifa legufei yitzrich. The fat of a treifa that wasn't shechted is aser. Sorry, tar, not aser, tar. Shalei toimar hoyel ve'utmeya asur mechayim u'treifa asur mechayim. I would say that a non-kosher animal is also its whole life, right? A lion is also from the moment it's born, and treifa is also whenever it has a treifa. Matmei chelbo tamei, a non-kosher animal, the fat is tamei. Have treifa chelbo tamei. Yihachi, if that's the case, hainami b'bayis. So now we're going back to a bird. By the bird, the pasuk of a bird, shalei toimar hoyel b'ayv tamei oseh b'achilo, treifa oseh b'achilo. You have a non-kosher bird, you have a raven, an owl. It's a non-kosher bird, it's also to eat. Utreifa sur b'achila. And a treifa bird, a kosher treifa bird is also to eat. So do the same exact thing that you just did in an animal. So just like a non-kosher bird is not mitama, we already established, touching a dead non-kosher bird, you don't become mitama. Av treifa and mitama. So that's why you need the word treifa. It goes back now. Yeah? You have to hold a little bit of cup. So now, that's why I need the word treifa, that it is metama. This is easy. Rabbi's here. What's the comparison between treifa and tamei? How are you going to learn treifa and tamei? When it comes to a tummy bird, a tummy animal, it was born tamei. A lion is born a lion, it's tamei from the first second. It never had a shasa kosher, never had a time where it was kosher. Treifa, hazel shasa kosher. This animal developed a hole in its heart later on in life. So it was once upon a time kosher. So how are you going to learn one from the other? And what about a case where we know of kids that are born with holes in their heart? No? There is such a thing as a treifa that's born like that. So what do you do with that? What do you do with something that doesn't never had a shasa kosher? So it is comparison. There is a comparison between a treifa and tamei. No, at the end of the day, in the type called treifa, there's something called that it has a shasa kosher, and this doesn't. We have a whole video here. Maybe the editors could stick it in, not for now, because we're late. You know what you do with this word treifa? It tells us a tremendous chiddush. Again, we're back to the question. What do you do with treifa? What do you do? Okay. You know what you do with treifa? To tell us that if this chaylev, there's two isurim. If you eat it, you get two isurim. One for chaylev and one for treifa. Why? Typically speaking, in Shas, there's a concept called Eidus Echal Lisser. If you have one, which one came first, Rabbi Yisai? Chaylev or treifa? What comes first? Chaylev or nevela, what comes first? Yeah. Okay. Zog the Gemara, Elo Amar Rava, Atoy Amar Yova Yisin Nevela, V'Yochol Al Isur Chaylev. We're talking about Chaylev here. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, typically in Shas he holds Ein Isur Chal Isur. Over here he's going to say Isur Chal Isur is a special pasuk that says Treifa, that the Treifa goes on top of an existing Isur called Chaylev. This animal was born with the Chaylev inside its body, so the Isur of Chaylev was first, and then you want to add another Isur of Nevela and Treifa on top of it, it works. It's a Treifa V'Yochol Isur Chaylev. So that's the Chiddush. Treifa, you could apply the Isur, this guy's going to get 2 malchus or whatever it is, to Isurim because he ate Chaylev that is a Treifa. Utzricha, and the Torah has to tell us both the word Nevela and Treifa in this case. I would think Nevela, if the Torah just said Nevela, I wouldn't know that this idea that Treifa applies to Chaylev works. Because Nevela is different, it has a special power, it gives Tumah, so Mela, maybe it goes together with Chaylev. But maybe Treifa doesn't go on top of Chaylev. The Isur is when it's still alive, so that's why the Torah had to say both Nevela and Treifa Tzricha. Rameir, Hai Treifa, Mayavale. And what does Rameir do with the extra word Treifa? Now what? That if you shecht an animal, not Malika, we're talking about Malika the whole time, now we're going to Shechita. If you take an animal, you take a bird, you shecht it inside the Beis HaMikdash, it's not Mitama. It's still that Shechita is able to remove the Tumah even though you did it in the wrong place. Rabbi Yehuda, how does Rabbi Yehuda know this? So let me just show you this real quickly. This is pasuk number 1. Remember, this is pasuk number 1. We're talking the whole time. I showed it to you before. Since Rabbi Yehuda is another pasuk. It says in another parak, in Parak Chav Beis, Nevelu Treifa. It also says Nevelu. So I learned from there that if you take an animal, you shecht it inside the Beis HaMikdash, the shechita, the bird, it removes the tumah. And what is Rameir going to do with 2 psukim? It says 2 psukim. Like we just discussed. That a non-kosher bird, an owl, doesn't give off tumah after it dies. Rabbi Yehuda, and how does Rabbi Yehuda know that a non-kosher bird doesn't give off tumah? Minavela nafkele, from the word nevela. Rameir, hi nevela ma'avela. So over here, Rabbi Yehuda just learned a non-kosher bird. What does Rabbi Yehuda do with it? Rameir. L'shir achila v'kezayis. Like everything else in the Torah, in order to become tamei, you need kezayis. By Nevela. But the Torah says achila. And achila throughout the whole Torah, by matzah, everything else, is always gezayis. You're right. Chad l'shir achila b'kezayis, that's matama. V'chad l'shir achila b'chdi achilas pras. Achilas pras. This is achilas pras, right? The time it takes to eat a half a loaf of bread. Or half. Pras means half. So however long that takes. So if you were to eat it, this kazayas, let's say it takes 5 minutes to eat half a loaf of bread. So again, in order to be over on this tumah, on this kazayas, you have to eat the kazayas. You can't eat it over a span of 3 days. It has to be within the 5 minutes. So it should be so powerful that even if you ate it more than 5 minutes, you should become tamei. That the 2 psukim, one that you need kazayis, and one that you have to eat it within a chilas pras. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.